Good morning. Yes, I'm stepping in for Pat today, which, having worked with him for 6 years, I've done numerous times. You can tell him I said that. And according to the invitation you sent, I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Takeda, which was great news. They hadn't told me about the promotion at Takeda till I saw it in the invitation for today's program, so I was happy to hear about it. It probably also states that I'm a scratch golfer and a Rhodes Scholar, and those aren't true either. I'm the Director of Business Development. I've been doing this for about 5 years. My history with Takeda was right back to the beginning. About 15 years ago, we were Bic Canada, and we became Altana, then Nycomed, and now Takeda. So I've been with the company for a long time, and I've been doing this for the last 5 years, filling the void, looking for products in the business development realm to go with the other products we have in our pipeline. I think I need the clicker there, Ian. Thank you. Sorry. So if you're like us, this is sort of a common situation, I think, that you're finding yourself in, and I talk to a lot of people that are like this, which is where you have something coming, it's very exciting, but maybe it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with the other things you have within the company, the other products. And this is specialty often as we're talking about. It's a niche market, it's a new customer base, a new patient, to go with our theme today. Oftentimes it reminds me of the Leafs. It used to be better, the P&L, years ago than it is today. It's a marginal P&L because over time our assumptions with respect to pricing, reimbursement, and some of the other things that we had thought about years ago, those are changing as our environment changes. And it's going into a therapeutic area where we have no equity, we don't have any relationship. So this is, I think, fairly common. One of the options I think rarely seriously considered is to package up the asset and say goodbye. And it's hard to do that when you've been looking at a product coming for a long time, you've been talking to your sales force about your great pipeline, and it gets here, and maybe it doesn't fit great, and maybe you don't have the expertise, and maybe you're not the best company to sell it. It's very hard, and I know I do that for a living. I call companies who I know have these assets and try to convince them to give them to me, which is sort of like talking Rob Ford out of a honey cruller. It's difficult. For those of you from Montreal, you just have to pick up the sun and you can understand what that means. So the solution I think we more popularly look for, is to fill the void, is to find other products to go with this product in the bag and build a small portfolio. There's lots of great reasons to do that. You obviously add to the offering. It helps allocate sales costs, of course, which is always great. It really fixes that P&L from the original anchor asset you had. Increases the productivity of your salespeople in the field and lowers the risk. I mean, any sales force that's out there these days with one product in the bag, in the environment we're in, is at risk for sure. So having 2 or 3 is a great way to launch a team. In high school, I planned on marrying a wealthy supermodel, and not unlike that fantasy, I think we're all looking for this product. It's a transformational asset that's going to go perfectly with the other products we have. It's market ready, has an amazing P&L, and it's just a perfect fit. And we'd all love to find that product, but the reality is we're looking for maybe strategic acquisitions. So maybe we're adding to the offering. The P&L on its own, it might not be a product that you'd be really excited if you had it by itself, but in the mix it works. Maybe it's something that while your reps are in that same center, they can talk to a different physician, so it just supports the sales effort. And I think things like co-promotions and quids, from a BD standpoint, they're less fun than an acquisition or a licensing deal, but often they really work to help build this portfolio and help support maybe that anchor product that you have coming to market. I have an example I can share from Takeda, and I was going to take total credit for this on my own, and then I noticed that John Suk was in the audience today, so I have to give credit where credit is due. But Nycomed, we had a product in our portfolio called Instanil. It's been launched in Europe. It's a nasal fentanyl for breakthrough cancer pain. A great product, really interesting product. And so about 3 years prior to the launch of that product, John sent us out and he said, you know, let's build an oncology portfolio. And as you saw, I think it was Peter's slide maybe showed there's 800 products in development, and I'm not a science guy. And it's not for the faint of heart to look into oncology. So what we came up with, or what our leadership came up with, and what our marching orders were, was we focused on oncology supportive care. And we had this one anchor product, and John said, go find a couple of products that would go nicely with that. And the result was great. Like I said, we have two. They're not transformational products. They don't have P&Ls that are going to have you excited to go out and hire a new sales force, but they're very supportive of the anchor product of Instanil. We've licensed 2 additional products, an antiemetic and a mucositis product, and the result is fantastic. We're able to apply a larger sales force to Instanil because of these products. There's a great combined P&L with all the products put together and spreading across the allocation of sales costs. We've lowered our risk, and if you talk to John, you'll see he's happy, even though he's retired. Or maybe that's why he's happy. But. So, I mean, where do you find these? For those of you who are familiar with BD, you probably know a lot of these things. But for those that aren't, I'll share a few things. I mean, the number one, in my mind, place really to find these things is partnering meetings, and there's a bunch of them. I've put a couple up there. BIO is the big one. 20-something thousand delegates. It's a giant meeting with partnering. Biopartnering North America just happened a little while ago. Bio Europe, I know, I was talking to Peter who was there. These are great meetings where you get, and that's a picture of speed dating, but you basically get 30 minutes with up to 15, 20 companies if you put a good profile out there, so you can really talk to people that have something that you'd be interested in and who are interested in you and your capabilities in Canada or wherever you're looking for products, so that's a great one. The BD organizations are really great places to network and meet other people. CHLA, the Canadian Healthcare Licensing Association, is a great organization here in Canada. LES is a good North American organization that has meetings with all sorts of education. So we spend a lot of time in some of the databases like MedTrack, Thomson Pharma, you know, the Data Monitor, all those news feeds. You can find a lot of things there. Clinicaltrials.gov is a great place as well. You can filter and see what's coming, what's in phase 2, what's going to be ready when your asset is ready. Competitors are always an interesting thing. You know, they're probably the last people you think about talking to, but often they're in the same situation as you, where they have that one asset and they're not sure. So they might be interested in partnering and doing a quid or something like that. And another place where we've had a lot of luck at Nycomed is really looking for companies that are US only based. And the reason for that, I think, is that generally what goes on in the industry, this is sort of the mantra of, of people with products, is you get your US deal, you get your EU deal, you get a BRIC deal, and then you relax. And Canada is like, there's a lot of reasons why you don't care whether you go to Canada. The drugs are cheap there. They're going to come back into the US through this giant, parallel reimportation problem that Obama keeps talking about. My favorite is, we'll take a couple of our Detroit reps, we'll give them snowmobiles, and we'll just let them handle Canada on their lunch hours. We'll just do it ourselves, and I think a lot of companies have tried that and found it's not as easy as they might have thought. So, I'm standing here to say, one of the things we need to do as an industry is really promote. We heard, I think, on the biotech side and on the biologic side that a lot of products aren't coming here, and it's because of those myths. This is a particularly excellent article written about the myths that threaten the pipeline supply, and I can send you an autographed copy if you'd like to have one. But there's a lot of information out there. IMS is a great resource to tell you about what's going on with the internet pharmacies, and there's a million reasons why these are myths and why really we need to be considered as an excellent resource as a Canadian companies for bringing these products to Canada and launching them in the way they should be launched. So I put the picture of the frog. This is my last slide just to talk the pitfalls, because it isn't easy. I put the frog up there just to remind myself to tell you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. The industry standard is about 1% to 2%. So 1% to 2% of the deals that we enter into discussions on, we close. So better than the 1 in 10,000 from R&D that come to market, but it's still it's tough sledging, and you spend a lot of time on a lot of deals that go away and never happen. The other thing that I hear all the time is, you know, the pharma market, the licensing market's a bit like the Toronto housing market. There's some bidding wars going on, and every time I talk to somebody now, they tell me they have 6 other non-binding offers, and I'm going to be the 7th. A lot of people that are winning are overpaying, and so a lot of times when we lose, we celebrate because we realize that we had pretty much stretched ourselves to get the asset in the first place. And if someone else was willing to pay more, well, then they were going to be a great competitor for us because they weren't going to do very well. I can't say enough about due diligence. From experience, having scrimped on it a couple of times, you really have to take your time and look carefully at things you're going to license. Things are changing rapidly in our environment, and some of the analogs you're using or some of the assumptions you might have based on previous Health Canada decisions, those aren't true anymore. So you really, we use a lot of consultants to help us with that. And that sort of goes to the next point, which is the ever-changing hurdles. I mean, pricing, reimbursement, you know, those P&Ls change every day. And the last thing, like a good marriage, every alliance has to be very carefully managed. Just coming from a guy with 2 divorce lawyers, but that's another story. You need to be in constant contact with your partners and really manage those relationships well. You know, at the end of our rainbow is not a pot of gold, it's a pot of pills, and it's a tough journey, but I think that if we take our time, manage our relationships, we can definitely fill the voids. Thanks.